episode 3. My name is Arlene, founder of Roots to Fruits. Roots to Fruits is a financial well-being platform aimed at empowering people to be able to look after their finances because, as you know, it's linked to your well-being. And I'm joined by Grace.
Hey everyone, it's Grace. I'm the founder of ep.4. ep.4 is a community championing mental well-being, particularly mental well-being in the workplace, and currently working on building an app. So that's where we're at.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to this app, by the way. So watch this space. I think we should plug ourselves. So you can find us on social media, myself at Roots to Fruits. Spelt the same way as in YouTube, and you can also subscribe on the website. We'll leave all the links in the description.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
For ep.4, if you're on Instagram, it's ep.4, EMPYLO, and then an underscore. If you're on LinkedIn, it's ep.4, no underscore, just ep.4.
Yeah. Now that we've done all that admin,
it's out of the way now.
Yeah. So this podcast is all about kind of talking about well-being and all the different facets that kind of link to it. And we've got loads of topics that we picked from that we felt really strongly about, maybe we've discussed in the past, and we thought this would be a good one to discuss on this platform. And today it's side hustles.
Ooh,
yes.
Very relevant.
Very relevant, especially because we both have side hustles. And kind of have been navigating trying to start something whilst you have like a challenging job at the same time. In terms of side hustles, I looked up the official definition. If you don't know what it is, it's an additional job that a person takes in addition to their primary job in order to supplement their income. I thought just to kick it off, just to discuss kind of your side hustle, what it is, I know, but just so everyone understands exactly what the dynamics are and what made you start, even though, of course, you already have a full-time job. Yep. Why start something else?
Cool. So, as I said already, ep.4 is an employee well-being or mental health community at the moment, building into a platform. The reason why I started ep.4, I think it came from kind of being a mental health nurse, working in mental health for several years. I think there was an initial point where I identified why mental health in the workplace was an important issue. This was actually early on in my career. This was kind of when I was working with somebody who'd experienced a mental health breakdown, right. Which actually was caused by a lot of workplace stresses. A lot of the precipitants, when we're looking at kind of what had happened leading up to their breakdown, or not even a breakdown, I think that's the wrong term, it's probably a mental health illness, because it was. Mm-hmm. It was mostly work related, and my thinking at the time was, had this been identified or had this person felt secure and comfortable to speak to their employers about what they were experiencing, a lot of this could have been prevented. Mm-hmm. So from then on, I started researching. I actually went back to uni, not particularly for mental health in the workplace, but whilst I was at uni, I was researching. I did my dissertation on organisational well-being the relationship between work and organisation. So looking at organisational well-being from kind of a HR perspective. And that was quite compelling as well, to find that actually not many companies were doing much for employees' well-being. Mm-hmm. It was still quite a taboo issue. There were employee assistance programs, but they weren't really focused at educating people and in bringing that insight. And then the journey to ep.4 came whilst I was at uni. I did go through an accelerator. I wanted to start an app. I was like, this is a great opportunity to do something. And then back then the idea wasn't very well defined. It was more going to be a therapy app, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But the passion was there, but I think the idea was not clarified enough for me. Yeah, which is also very important. I think was a learning point. And then further on, I kind of parked it, but continued to research. And then there was a point where I was like, actually, now is the time. Why not start to do something, put something together? Also inspired by you as well, because I was seeing what people were doing, and I saw Arlene working on Roots to Fruits, and I think I had a conversation with you, and I was like, oh, Arlene, you know, this is great. I've also looked into well-being. I think I'm going to start something. And then Empilo just started, I think, as a community, and I think that's what I really wanted it to be to start with. The end goal has always been an app or a software, but I think it was important to build a community for two reasons. One, to validate what the app would be like, because you need to validate something. You need to see, do people really need this? Will people engage? And the community helps to do that. And also to being able to reach people and actually engage with people, understand what are the issues that people are experiencing when it comes to mental health as a whole, and then also understanding mental health in the workplace. In 2021, when I officially launched Empilo, it was a scary time. I held an event which was exciting, but gosh, it was scary.
It's literally this time last year. This on the 14th, was the date. Then we finished the conference. And it was exciting. Lynn was there, so it was a 5-day conference with speakers looking at the theme, 5 themes of all 5 elements of well-being, and then we also had some practical things there, yoga. So there's always been this element of Empilo has to have some educational content, and also has to have some practical content, because it's all well and good having the knowledge, but you also need to learn some skills. The event went well, and then since then there's been what I like to call the ups and downs of a startup and a founder's journey. Moments where I'm like, I don't know, but then there's moments where I remember why, and then that's where I am today, and we're recording the podcast. There's things going on in the background. I'm on an accelerator program, and also just talking to the right people, being in the right space, learning and connecting. So it's an exciting time, I think. That's good.
Yeah. How about yourself?
And it's all a side hustle, by the way, at the moment.
It's all a side hustle. I have a full-time job. You know, I'm working basically full-time work, and it's, you know, it's all kind of related. I'm in the space of mental health, actually mental health tech itself. So it's a great opportunity to even learn, but to also use the skills that I enjoy using and employing. So it's balancing. But I think we're probably going to get onto that, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Yes, how to manage and everything. But thanks for sharing your journey. And as you said, so for myself, very much a side hustle, like Roots to Fruits. And I don't think I've ever had one, to be fair. Since I started kind of my career in finance, after graduating, I've just had the one job, and because it just took up a lot of my time. And I'm not saying that now I have more time to be starting something, but there was a passion, just like yourself. I've always felt like there could be more that I could be doing to help my community besides, you know, doing charitable stuff. It was just more like, okay, there's definitely a need for people to be helped out with their finances, make it relatable, bring the content to them. If there's solutions, provide those solutions, speak to them, understand exactly why they're in the situation that they are. And then I started mine in 2020, and it started as Zoom sessions back in the day.
I remember the session.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was okay, more people would loads of information. So it's okay, record videos, and I created a planner, the Roots to Fruits planner. Go and check it out if you haven't. It's just literally a journal where you jot down, and it helps you kind of manage your finances, like a budget. And now it's evolved into setting up a platform, a digital platform where people can use as a budgeting tool, as well as a coaching tool, as well as just kind of money management, loads of information on there. So I feel like now we're literally synchronized in terms of the journey of trying to set something up in the year that we're in, which is the digital age, but also provide something that helpful for people, but all while still having a demanding job. So it is really hard, but at the same time, because I'm passionate about it, you're passionate about yours, then that's why we're here. And I'm also on a program, so Vantage at the moment. So yeah, there's a lot of information to absorb, but at the same time, it's really rewarding. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, exciting journeys, I think. And like you said, I think we are synchronizing, and we've seen that and it's been helpful for both of us, I think, having somebody to kind of share with that journey, that experience. But yeah,
that's that bit, community, why it's important to find people in your community and having peers. But yeah, so that's really good, just so people can understand why we want to have this as a subject today. So the examples for other people that could be like, well, I'm not trying to start an app, but what are the examples of a side hustle that you could have, like getting any kind of second job, or writing, if you're writing a book, for example, blogging, people blog, or setting up a social media platform, that's a side hustle in its own. You can sell products online, offline, tutoring for people that have that gift, and there's loads of stuff that you could do to try and earn extra income. And like the benefits of a side hustle that I've got jotted down as well. Of course, you get extra money. That's the whole point. But it's the other stuff that I wanted to discuss, where you could gain from actually having a passion. So we're passionate about what we started. So then you feel that sense of accomplishment. If you like this podcast that we're doing, right? It feels so great when it landed. It landed literally this week, and there's been so much great feedback where people have been saying that I'm so glad that someone's talking about this particular subject. That just fills my heart up. So then it makes it worth it. It's not like there's any extra money coming from it, but there's the sense of accomplishment.
I agree.
And then like there's other stuff, like you could be your own boss, because you're setting the rules. We were just talking about how we're gonna be moguls and CEOs in our own right. So there's that part of things, like it's your own destiny. You're setting it, and it's like, you're setting the way. You're creating the vision, the company that you would like to work in. So there's loads of stuff that you can gain from a side hustle, and additional skills as well, like organizational skills, because you need to have your ish together. If the buck stops with you, then you need to get it sorted, and leadership skills as well. So there's loads of stuff that you can gain from having a side hustle that isn't just money. So I wanted to ask you, like, what are you gaining? Because it's been like a year now. What are you gaining from it?
That's a really good question, because I think just on that, I think it's important to think about, maybe not even think about, to regularly reflect, because it's important to reflect, especially in the times where you're probably not as kind of enthusiastic or not as encouraged, having that reflection to go back to your why. So in terms of what am I gaining from it, when I think of a side hustle, or when I think of Empilo itself, or what I'm doing, I look at it as maybe three things. So interestingly, all start with a P. So the first one would be passion, which you've talked about. It's something I'm passionate about. It's something that, mental health is something I've studied, I will continue to do, even though I've kind of navigated through different kind of roles, but I'm still focused, the core focus of what I do is still mental health. And then purpose, I think feeling purposeful, doing something that feels aligned with who I am. So when I talk about mental health, things just feel right. And when I'm doing anything related to mental health, working, you know, with patients, I still, even though my full-time job isn't as a clinician, I still go into, you know, the hospitals. I still work in a hospital because I think that also helps me to feel fulfilled. And being with Empilo and, you know, talking about mental health, looking at mental health, writing about it, researching, it all feels very aligned with who I am and with my purpose. And then the last one would be play. It feels like play most of the time. Not every time, but it feels like play. And I think any side hustle or anything that you do that's supplementary should always really feel like play. It feels like you enjoy it. It should be, you get so immersed in it when you're doing things. When we're recording the podcast, we find ourselves feeling, you know, getting so immersed in it and just
excited. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Exactly, that's it. So it's feeling like play. And, you know, this, I guess for different people, different side hustles could be whatever your strengths are or whatever you enjoy doing. So, you know, if you are full-time, you're working as a doctor, maybe on the side you enjoy photography, so you start a side hustle in photography, that's more likely going to feel like play. So it won't really feel like, oh my gosh, I have to get up and work. Most of the time it should feel like I'm excited to do this because it's something I enjoy. So for Empilo, those are the things I get. I think when I'm writing and researching, I find myself really immersed. And when I'm talking to people, that kind of thing, I do enjoy it. So yeah, those are the three things that I probably think about so passion, purpose and play.
Love that. We literally need to like put that in some sort of infographic as PPP. Yeah, figure out your 3 Ps. Yeah. Whilst you were talking, I was like, you're so right, because there's the other day when I was at the one of the Vantage nights, and we were being given loads of information. I think it was like on a day in a week where it was so busy at work, I literally had to run out the door because it was just like, I have to go now to meet the time. But there's just so much work. I knew that literally I was either going to have to log on in the evening or like really early on the next day, and then like going there. So it's just so tired. But whilst I was in the room, I was amongst all these other female founders, and I'm learning so much, and I'm like, oh my god, I could do that for Rooster Fruits too. I could implement that. I'm like already like messaging you, like, oh my god, I learned this, you should probably do that too. And I was like, you could not pay me to leave this room. I would not be anywhere else. And that's when I literally felt like a spark. I felt like this is it. It makes so much sense, even though I am tired, but I will not be anywhere else. So that's, as you said, like figure out your why, and if you're passionate about it, you'll find the time. And it's beyond just the money, although the money would be good. So that's good to kind of discuss for people to get an insight.
Agreed. What about yourself? What kind of what are you finding to be the benefits of kind of having Roots to Fruits as a side hustle?
So I mean, it's with the intention, because a few people have asked, like, so are you trying to like leave your role then, or what's the end goal with this? And when I started it, honestly, it was just kind of like, I want to do something. Who knows what will come out of it? But recently, like this year, it's felt like this is it, because I'm passionate about it. I really want it to work, so it's with the goal that it becomes my main thing. It becomes a bigger project that helps a lot more people. So my why is to grow it, and I'm so passionate about it, and I want to feed into it so much so that it stops being a side hustle and becomes my main hustle.
We like that. And that's sometimes the goal, sometimes not, but it's good to have that as the goal, isn't it?
Just identify why you're doing something. So that's where I'm at the moment, which is scary to say out loud.
But you did it, and that's it. It's now out there, so
cool. So in terms of like, we've discussed like the benefits that you can get, and also like the additional skills that we're getting. Learning so much, which is fantastic, that you can even bring into your main job.
Yes.
So
transferable skills, that kind of thing. I think we we're talking about that earlier, actually, like when you are, especially in a startup environment or any kind of environment where you're kind of leading and you're doing your own thing, you kind of have to be everything.
Yes.
You have to be the marketing, you have to be the content creator, you have to be, you know, dealing with the finances, even if it's not really your strength or the things you enjoy.
You have to do it.
Yeah. So you gain those skills whether you want to or you don't, but you do. So I think those are
literally like head of operations,
head
of marketing, head of everything. It's just
use different voices.
Yeah.
You know? Head of marketing
and an assistant as well.
Yeah, literally. So.
But yeah, it's all fun and games. And then since this is about kind of well-being, we thought that it's good to touch on the cons of having a side hustle. And it's like there's this hustle culture now. The go, you know, how many YouTube videos or ads come on where it's like you can't just be sitting on your bum like on the weekend. You need to be working hard. You need to be using your 24 hours in a day. What, you know, how are you making that money? How are you elevating? Are you growing? And I'm using those terms because it's just like go.
Yeah.
So there's this hustle culture now, but is it a good thing? Is it for everyone?
Absolutely not. And that's a okay thing. I think, like you're saying, we're bombarded with all of this. You should be doing this. There's this rule, the 80-20 rule. You need to be doing this. These are all good things that can help people if you are starting. You know, these are relevant material, relevant things to look at. But then sometimes it can bombard people and make people feel like, oh my gosh, if I'm not doing something else extra, maybe I'm not sufficient, or maybe I'm not, I'm missing out, or I'll be looked at differently. And I think that's what the hustle culture kind of causes. It causes insecurity sometimes because people can feel like they're inadequate, or people end up starting things just without really knowing their why, and then it becomes a burden to them. And then if it fails, which it does, most people who do things, sometimes things fail and then you have to keep trying again. It can then impact our well-being. And sometimes we feel so inclined to do it, and then if it doesn't succeed, then it impacts our well-being, and then we feel like failures ourselves, when actually majority of people who do start things, they have to go through that period of kind of failing and then keep trying again. But to answer your question, no, not everyone has to have a side hustle. And I also think a side hustle, I know the definition says is something that pays you, but I also don't think it has to be something that pays you. I think if you are somebody who's interested in working with perhaps charities, or you're interested in kind of working, you know, supporting people in different ways without needing some kind of financial, but it's also gaining something in terms of feeling aligned with your purpose or doing something you're passionate about, that is still a side hustle, because that's a supplementary role in addition to your full-time job. So you're still hustling. So if you are doing those things and you are, you know, supporting charities, working with different things, you're still hustling, and it's still in its own right a side hustle, I think. So
that's a good point, because it's still like something that you're doing outside of your main thing. So, and that's a really good point when you mentioned if it fails, it affects people's mental health. So that's an interesting one to bring up, and then for people to be able to kind of manage, because as you said, actually most people that do something, we don't see when they fail, we just see when they succeed. It's like, oh, they managed to do it, but you don't know the 20 other projects that they started and it didn't quite work out, that led to them doing that final thing that we then now see, and you're like, oh, that's amazing, I wish I came up with that idea. So really interesting topic. Actually, whilst we're here, in terms of like dealing with failure, I don't know, because it wasn't on the subject, but whilst we're here, how would you kind of give advice on someone how to deal with, if they start a side hustle, it doesn't work out, how can they move on?
I think, again, it takes a lot of just sitting down and reflecting. Reflection is really good. Looking at why something may have failed, looking at perhaps how you could improve it if you were to pick it up again in the future. How do you feel about it failing? Because you might think, oh, it's failed, that means, oh, it didn't happen the way it's supposed to happen, that means it's negative. Sometimes you could feel relieved. Sometimes you could say, actually, I really wasn't enjoying that, so it's a good thing that it's no longer happening because I don't have to keep giving that time. So sit with yourself and really reflect. One good way to do that is through journaling, writing down when you get things out. It's like emptying things on a piece of paper, rummaging through it, and then deciding what you want to put back in and what you don't want, you leave it out. So journaling, writing down, why did you start it in the first place? If your why is still as strong as it was when you started, maybe there's a reason, and that's a reason for you to pick it up again. And
try it in a different way,
right? In a different way, with reflection and saying, okay, so that didn't work last time. This is why maybe next time I could navigate it a bit differently. And I think having conversations with other people who may be in the same industry, mentors, seeking out coaching, mentorship, to really understand what went wrong, can actually leave you feeling reassured that actually it wasn't your inadequacy, it was just maybe something that that you weren't aware of at the time, but it doesn't mean you are not good at running a business or you are not good at doing something. It's just things that you didn't know about that you can gain insights from other people. So I think probably those two things I would say, reflecting and talking to people.
That was bonus content, guys. So anyway, thank you for that.
So what would you say? Do you have any
in terms of how to deal with failure? So I think I would say you gave like practical tips of what you can do, but for me I think it's more now of a mindset, I suppose, like thinking just we aren't failures if something that we have done didn't work out. It doesn't make you a failure. It could be, you could literally separate it to, I tried this and it failed, rather than I tried this and I'm a failure because it didn't work out. No, it's just something that you have done, because we aren't our jobs, when you kind of separate yourself from, sometimes you associate your success with, this is who I am, but actually sometimes you just need to separate it, because if it doesn't work, as you said, it could affect your mental health. So maybe just kind of learn from it, as you said, separate the situation and leave it in the past, really, because so many people that have succeeded, if you read their books, they tell you about how much they failed. So even like actors, how many auditions they needed to have go on to then get that final role that worked out and got them to the Oscars. Or we've been going to the programs, as we mentioned earlier, and how many entrepreneurs that said that before I got my investment, I literally got 70 no's. So that's 70 pitches that you would have done to someone, 70 times that someone said, I don't like your idea. But you kept on going. So not to take failure as you failed, you're a failure. It's more like a challenge. You've learned from something.
Exactly. And also even not sticking to, like, if you try something, say, within a certain kind of field or area, because that's something you're into or you're passionate about, and then it doesn't work out, and then you do some reflecting and you think, actually I wasn't really enjoying that anyway. It's okay to then maybe pick something else up if you want to, that's completely different. So you could, I know people that have started maybe selling clothes or selling something, and then now they're doing something completely different because they've realized with time, actually this is what I enjoy. And it's just, this is why reflection is really important, because you understand yourself a bit more in order to enable you to make better decisions or other decisions in the future. So yeah,
I like that. Loads of practical stuff that people can do. So yeah, in terms of like, just to highlight certain things that we kind of researched to see the negatives of the hustle culture. We talked about kind of failing is a good one that you mentioned, and then it affecting your mental health. It could also lead to fatigue and burnout, because if you're doing your 9 to 5, some people, it could have been like 12 hours a day that they're working, and then they're doing a side hustle. So it could lead to fatigue and burnout. It's not for everyone, as we said, and it could be toxic as well. Once you start to be like, I don't want it to fail, you know, what kind of energy do you have there? And it could be demoralizing if it doesn't work out, if you don't have the right support system. So those are things to just think about, and just thought it would be good to highlight.
Very useful stuff, I think. And I think, completely useful stuff. When you think about what you're saying about burnout, I think, like you said, again, that hustle culture, and you're thinking, you know, I have to do this, or if I'm not working hard enough, that means it's not going to succeed. It's actually, well, what good is it going to be if you're so fatigued and so burnt out that you can't actually focus or give it your best? So I think it's really important to really factor that in when you're thinking about it. And I know generally people will say you have to work, you know, 20 hours a day, and I'm sorry, I'm going to put names out there. There's things, you know, people use examples of someone like, say, Elon Musk, who says, you know, who speaks openly, and that works for him. He says, you know, he works X amount of hours a day, which is, you know, quite a lot of hours. You could say maybe 80% of his day he's working, and then the other 20%, that's when he rests and then fits in all the other things. So if somebody's working, say, you know, 20 hours of their day, that you know, it may work for other people, but it doesn't mean it has to be the reality for everybody. And that's not the only secret to success. It's certainly not the secret to success for most people, because you need to rest and you need to be well and fit mentally,
and live a life, right? Actually see your loved ones. There's all sorts, because before you know it, time has passed. So
exactly,
there should be a healthy balance, which is a theme through all our videos. Find the healthy balance.
Definitely. Again, I suppose, what would be a good practical way of finding balance?
Ooh, good question. And that's a good question for me, because at the moment I feel like go. Like I'm not sure when I had like a day off, but I think that's where, because we discussed kind of dealing with stress before, and I think that's where you need to just put certain things in place. So I don't work 20 hours a day. I definitely find time to go to the gym. So what I do is I walk to the gym in the morning, which is a time where I just kind of cleanse my mind, even do little meditations and just breathe. And because I've worked out, means that I've just, you know, just did fresh. Something else other than work and side hustle and other stuff, meeting with friends. So it's just kind of recognizing how much time you can genuinely put towards a task without it affecting your mental health, because it's different for everyone. It must, I don't know how much it's working for Elon Musk, but it must be working if he's still going. But if it's just work out how many hours that you can work, that you can put towards a side hustle, and then just manage that without getting stressed. And I'm sure if you've got a passion for your 3 Ps, then somehow you just have so much more energy for a certain task, without neglecting all the stuff that's important, like family, friends, and just living life.
Definitely, I agree. I think boundaries. I'd say a cross between strategy and boundaries. So knowing what to say yes to and knowing what to say no to, because it's not everything that you must do. And I learned that the hard way. There was a point where I was like, well, if this is going to help, I'm going to do it. Or if this is related to my side hustle, or if this is related to learning, I'm going to do it. But actually it's about looking at something and really thinking it through before you commit to it and saying, okay, is it practical? Am I going to have time to, you know, join this, to do this, to, you know, attend this class or whatever it may be? And even like within your own personal life as well, like not saying yes to everything, because sometimes if you're saying yes to everything because you feel inclined to, that means you're now neglecting the side hustle. So that balance comes from having, not strategy sounds formal, but being able to strategize and understand and, you know, have those boundaries for both your personal and your kind of professional side hustle as well. So yeah, I think that's also really key.
That's a good tip. So in terms of like the stuff that we kind of looked into and advice that's given out there, you're right, like boundaries is one of them. Okay. And making sure that you take annual leave. So it's not to take days off to do your side hustle, no, actually take days off to relax, go for a holiday, visit family, you know, whatever it is that helps you to just kind of step away from hustle and bustle. That's definitely something that's advised. And I'm gonna just ask you if you've put time aside to relax.
I'll be honest, this was something I was terrible at doing before. I think I used to just be go. And that's kind of been a narrative throughout my life. I think when I was even at uni, it's always just been go. But the older I've gotten and the more I've kind of started learning about the relationship between our mental health and, you know, kind of even occupational things, such as the things that we take up, I've started to be more conscious of it.
Right.
So now I think the ideal would be to be able to plan my annual leave in advance, but I simply can't do that, just because as a person I do like spontaneity. I do like to just sometimes say, hey, next week let's book a holiday, let me do something, or let me go somewhere. So I don't tend to plan it out very, like, you know, plan my year out
6 months in advance.
6 months in advance. But in terms of taking time off, I've definitely started doing that. And if it's, you know, a bank holiday, or even if it's a weekend, if I know that actually I'm not feeling great, you know, I've been working really hard, I'll make sure that I set time aside, even if it's an afternoon. Go do something that you enjoy, go for a walk, even just switch off completely. Don't touch anything that's not, you know, that's not helping you to relax or helping you to relax. But yeah, time off, annual leave could be used better, if I'm being honest. Could be used a lot better. What about you?
So I think for myself, last year I had so much annual leave left over. I literally had to take loads in December because you can't carry it forward. So then, like, now this year, because I carried a bit forward, I was like, right, I'm taking the time off. So once a month I even take a couple of days, just to one day to do nothing, one day to like catch up on different stuff, because you just have to manage it. But I've literally I've taken that on board, because as we said, once it goes really left with mental health, it's hard to kind of scale it back. So I've definitely taken that on board. Other advice is to get enough sleep. I don't know about this 20-hour work day that the richest man in the world.
I mean, he is. But I think sleep, 100%. I think that's self-explanatory. We'll probably do an episode on sleep and why it's important, I think. So we'll go into that in a more detail, you think?
We'll leave that for next time. Try to finish work on time is one. You know, so it's like you said, setting boundaries, managing your time. So you need really good time management if you've got a side hustle. I mean, in life in general anyway, you need good time management. But so that's one of the things, because you need to be able to do the ABC and make sure you've allocated time for it and be efficient with it.
I think so, I think that's like the biggest lesson I've had personally is, you know, how am I managing my time, and am I using it effectively? When I've set time aside, am I sticking to it? Am I using it effectively? So Yeah, and it helps when you have things planned out, when you're using your time effectively and allocating time to different tasks, because you see things coming together. Naturally, things start to, you see the fruits of what you're doing.
Whereas if you hadn't had, it's really hard, because if you hadn't had planned it out and then it doesn't work out as, because you haven't thought about how long it's going to take.
Yeah.
And then you try to do something, it doesn't work out, and then you think, oh, I'm not managing my time well, or it's taking me long. You know, it just kind of messes things up. So the detail is in the planning ahead, actually. So do you do things like sit down on a Sunday and plan your week?
I probably do for work, but I think generally my kind of rule is I wake up quite early most days. It's usually between 5:30 and 6, and I try and allocate that first part of the morning firstly to kind of, like you said, well-being, being able to focus on well-being, and then most of the time, if I have time, or I try to set that time actually to say every morning at least an hour before work I do something focused on mpillow, whether it's kind of reading, whether it's actually something practical in terms of like typing things, doing things, you know, whatever it may be, what period I'm working on right at that time, and then sometimes it can also be in the evenings. I can say 2 hours every evening, and then in the week, if I see that my workload or I have things that I need to do that are imminent, then I can say actually all of Saturday I'm allocating it to mpillow for majority of the day, and then in the evening I can chill and relax. And yeah, so it's, for me, it's I won't say spontaneous, but it's kind of like a routine kind of
that you've put
in
place. So, and I guess I love what you've done there. You fit in looking after yourself, you fit in your main job, you fit in your side hustle, as well as the play, and do stuff on Saturday night, because you've allocated Saturday morning to mpillow. So that's how you find the balance in a definition right there.
What about you? Is it similar?
Like in terms of how I manage it, I think so. So in terms of not in the mornings is purely just get my mind right. Because I think if I was to even have 30 minutes, that's all I want to work on the whole day, because I just got so in the zone. So I just kind of in the morning just do all the bits in terms of looking after myself, and then work during the day, and then at night in the evening that's when I allocate time to roots to fruits, and then weekends as well, just doing roots to fruits. But I definitely have time for meeting up with friends, family, because time just passes by. If you don't, then time just passes by. So that's how I found. So it's quite similar.
It's true,
but that's
I agree. It's the balance. It's the balance.
It's the balance. So I think the last point, we've said it in a nutshell really, which was scheduling time for pleasant activities. So make sure that you do that. I think in terms of all the points, is there anything that you want to add, or
I think that, to be fair, that generally summarizes it, doesn't it? It puts everything in a nutshell, covering well-being, covering time management and planning. So it covers pretty much what I would think anyway. For you, anything?
I mean, in terms of like key takeaways, really, I think I'll just say, as you said, it's around managing your time, understanding your why, be passionate about it, or if it's about money, that's fine, get that, and then make sure it's sustainable, have a balance, and I think that's that, isn't it? It's just that. So I feel like that was a great episode, because we got to talk about what we're working on. So I hope that you guys got a bit of an insight. To close it off, I'm gonna just ask, it's not that deep this time, so we we've got the questions that we just gotta ask to get to know each other a little bit more.
Yeah.
So which book are you currently reading at the moment?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to read two at the same more than one, flipping them. So the main one that I'm reading is it's called Johann Hari. Johann Hari, and gosh, how can I forget mine?
It's because you're reading two. This is balance right here. This is multitasking at its best.
Since one gets boring. It's connected. Oh gosh, how can I forget the name, the title? It's a great book. I don't know why I'm forgetting the title. Johann Hari, Lost Connections. Sorry, my brain is a little bit fried, but it's called Lost Connections by Johann Hari.
Yeah.
Great book. It talks a lot about kind of well-being, because it's something I'm interested in as well, just for myself actually. And he looks at the different ways that in the society we're kind of losing connections, or how people are not feeling as connected to things like their work, they're not feeling connected to other people, that kind of thing. And then the other book I'm reading is called Good Data, and that's purely because I've started a new role where there's a huge focus on using data for good, and it's just kind of really to understand what where this concept of good data comes from, how people collect and use this data, and how basically I can improve my knowledge on that. So one is for kind of fun and well-being and development, and then one is basically learning in relation to my job. So those are my two. What about yours?
At the moment, I'm reading Happy Money.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the author. It's by a Japanese author. I'll find it. But yeah, it's all around. I kind of research for really around mindset and money. And the author is kind of talking about how there is a bit of a connection in how you earn money, how you use money, your attitude towards money, and how much you have, so how much you can attract because of your attitude towards money. So it's quite interesting.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
We'll put these books down in the bio as well, if anybody wants to read them. So yeah,
that's that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.